My friend, let me start with a question that might sound a little personal, but I think you'll understand why I'm asking. Have you ever noticed how the smallest habits, things you don't even think twice about, can suddenly show up years later in your health? Maybe it's that nightly snack you thought was harmless, or sitting for hours because the recliner is just too comfortable, or perhaps it's not drinking enough water. These little things often sneak into our routine without much thought, but they can pile up. And when they do, they can quietly chip away at one of the most important parts of a man's body after 60, the prostate. I once had a patient named Henry. He was 67 when he came to see me. At first, he didn't come because of a major problem, but rather because of small, nagging annoyances. He told me, "Doc, I feel like I can't sit through a movie without heading to the bathroom at least twice. And when I do go, it feels like I can't quite finish." Now, Henry was a proud man, someone who had worked hard his whole life, raised a family, and prided himself on being steady and reliable. But here he was, embarrassed to even talk about what was going on down there. As he sat across from me, shifting uncomfortably in his chair, I could tell this wasn't just about the physical discomfort. It was about his confidence, his peace of mind, and the way he felt about growing older. That's when I knew we needed to talk not just about what was happening to him, but about the everyday choices that often make these issues worse without us realizing it. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Dr. Nolan Easton. I've been working with men for more than 30 years, helping them navigate the unique challenges that come with aging. And today, I want to guide you through something that I believe every man over 60 deserves to know: the 4 everyday habits that damage the prostate. These are habits that, if left unchecked, can slowly erode your health and quality of life. But the good news is this: you have the power to turn things around. Small changes can protect your prostate, ease your discomfort, and help you feel more in control of your body again. Now, let's go back to Henry for a moment. Like many men his age, he thought prostate issues were just a part of getting older. He shrugged and said, "It's just my age catching up with me, isn't it?" But what I explained to him, and what I want to explain to you, is that while aging does play a role, your habits play an even bigger one. Think of it like this. The prostate is small, about the size of a walnut, but it's incredibly sensitive to how you treat your body. The way you sit, the food you eat, how often you move, even how much water you drink, all of these everyday decisions send signals to your prostate. Those signals can either keep it healthy and calm, or they can inflame it and make it swell. I'll never forget the look on Henry's face when I told him that his favorite evening routine of sinking into his recliner with a soda in hand might be one of the reasons he was struggling so much at night. At first he laughed, but then he leaned forward and asked me to explain. And here's the truth. Sitting for long hours restricts blood flow in the pelvic region, which can cause congestion in the prostate. Combine that with sugary drinks, which fuel inflammation, and you've got a recipe for irritation that builds quietly over time. Now, I don't tell you this to make you feel guilty about your habits. Believe me, every man I've ever treated has his routines, and most of them don't think twice about how those routines affect their prostate. But I do tell you this because I want you to see how much control you still have over your health. That's the part Henry didn't realize at first. He had the power to ease his discomfort by making a few changes, and so do you. Before I go further, let me pause for just a moment. If what I'm sharing feels important to you, I'd love for you to support this message so more men like you can hear it. Please give this video a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and tap the bell so you don't miss the advice I share here every week. And if you're listening to this and thinking, "Yes, this is exactly what I needed to hear," type a simple "yes" in the comments. If it doesn't quite connect with your experience, you can type "no." I read through your answers personally because your feedback helps me know what matters most to you. So back to Henry. After we talked, he admitted that he hadn't been paying attention to these little details. He sat too long, drank too much soda, and rarely exercised beyond a short walk to the mailbox. He assumed those things didn't matter much. But once he understood how those choices were affecting his prostate, something changed. He started drinking more water, replacing his soda with herbal tea. He got up every hour to move around, even if just for a few minutes. Within weeks, he noticed his bathroom trips at night were fewer, and he felt less pressure and discomfort during the day. Now, I be clear, prostate health isn't about chasing perfection. It's not about giving up everything you enjoy or following some strict, complicated plan. It's about awareness. It's about recognizing the habits that do more harm than good, and then making small, consistent shifts towards healthier alternatives. And what I've seen time and time again in my patients is that when they do this, they regain something that goes far beyond physical comfort. They regain a sense of confidence, dignity, and freedom in their daily lives. And that's really what I want for you. I don't want you to simply accept that struggling with your prostate is just the way things are after 60, because it's not. You deserve better than that. You deserve to feel steady, comfortable, and at peace with your body as you age. And I promise you, by being mindful of the 4 everyday habits I'll be walking you through, you can protect your prostate, reduce irritation, and enjoy life with more ease and freedom. Henry's story is just one example, but it's one I come back to often because it shows that change is possible at any age. He didn't need surgery or complicated treatments. He simply needed the knowledge and the encouragement to make choices that supported his health instead of harming it. And you can do the same.
When Henry and I had our first conversation, what really struck me was how surprised he was to learn that the little things mattered so much. He said, "Doc, I never thought that sitting too long or grabbing a soda could actually change what's going on with my prostate." And I smiled and told him, "Henry, your body remembers everything you do. Every habit is like a quiet message to your organs, and your prostate listens very carefully." That's something I want to share with you today, because the truth is, after 60, the margin for error is smaller. What you could get away with in your 30s or 40s, the late nights, the fast food, the long weekends of inactivity, catches up with you now. And while it can feel unfair, it's also empowering, because it means that small positive choices you make now can still bring big improvements. Let me give you another example. I once had a patient named Charles, 72 years old. Charles came to see me because he felt like he was chained to the bathroom. He'd go 6, 7 times a night, barely sleeping, and during the day, he'd constantly look for the nearest restroom before he made any plans. He confessed that he had stopped going out with friends and even avoided long drives with his wife because he didn't trust his bladder. Now, when I asked him about his lifestyle, one thing stood out. Charles had a habit of drinking several cups of strong coffee each day, sometimes well into the evening. Coffee in moderation isn't the villain, but caffeine acts as a bladder stimulant and irritant. For men with a sensitive or enlarged prostate, it's like throwing fuel on the fire. I explained this to Charles, and he looked at me as if I had just revealed a secret no one had ever told him. He said, "Are you telling me my nightly pot of coffee could be the reason I'm up so much?" And I nodded. Sometimes the culprit isn't hidden. It's right in front of us, woven into the rhythm of our day. This is the kind of insight I want you to take to heart, because every man I see has his version of Charles's coffee. Maybe for you, it's alcohol in the evening. Maybe it's heavy, greasy meals that leave you sluggish and inflamed. Or maybe it's the habit of ignoring your thirst all day until you realize you've only had 1 glass of water. These things may feel harmless, but to your prostate, they are daily irritations. Now, here's the encouraging part. When Charles gradually reduced his caffeine intake, switching some of those cups of coffee to warm herbal tea or water, his nights transformed. Instead of waking 6 or 7 times, he began waking only once, sometimes not at all. His wife told me later that she had her husband back because he wasn't tired and irritable all day. That simple change gave him back his freedom and peace of mind. I share this with you because I want you to see how the story isn't just about the prostate. It's about your daily life. It's about being able to sit through a movie with your grandkids without feeling restless. It's about taking a road trip with your spouse and enjoying the scenery, not worrying about the next gas station. It's about sleeping deeply through the night so you wake up refreshed instead of dragging yourself through the morning. When you protect your prostate, you protect your quality of life. And let me pause here again for a quick moment. If what I'm sharing is resonating with you, if you've ever had those nights of constant bathroom trips or days when you felt your body was running the show instead of you, please go ahead and click the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and tap the bell icon so you don't miss the weekly advice I share here. And in the comments, let me know, have you noticed your own habits making a difference in your prostate health? Just type yes if you think your habits might be affecting you, or no if you don't see the connection. I read your answers, and they help me guide these conversations in a way that truly serves you. Now, I'd like to talk about something that often gets overlooked, and it's important: stress. Many men don't realize that chronic stress is one of the quietest enemies of prostate health. When your body is under constant stress, your muscles, including the ones in your pelvic floor, stay tense. That tension can put pressure on the prostate, making urinary symptoms worse. On top of that, stress triggers inflammation throughout the body, which can directly irritate the prostate gland. I remember a gentleman named Robert, a retired accountant in his mid-60s. He was meticulous in every part of his life, but when his wife passed away, he found himself carrying a weight of stress and grief that he didn't know how to release. His prostate issues flared up during that time. He had more discomfort, more urgency, and more sleepless nights. It wasn't until we worked on simple relaxation practices, like daily walking, gentle stretching, and even just quiet breathing before bed, that he started to notice relief. His symptoms eased, not because of a pill, but because he learned how to let his body rest again. And that's the key here. Your prostate doesn't exist in isolation. It's part of your whole body. Every choice you make, what you drink, how you move, how you rest, and even how you handle your emotions, speaks directly to it. When you calm your body, your prostate often calms too. When I think back to Henry, Charles, and Robert, I see 3 different men with 3 different lifestyles, but they all shared the same surprise, that simple everyday habits were the root of their troubles, and the same simple everyday changes were the key to their healing. And I want you to take that to heart, because it means you are not powerless. Even after 60, you have tremendous influence over how your prostate feels, how your body functions, and how much freedom you enjoy each day.
When I think about the conversations I've had with men over the years, there's a common thread that runs through almost all of them. They'll say, "Doc, I thought prostate issues just happen because I'm getting older. I didn't realize the little things I do every day could make it worse." And that's exactly the point. Age sets the stage, yes, but your habits decide how the play unfolds. Take my patient Harold, for example. Harold was 69 when he came to me. He had a warm smile, but a tired look in his eyes. And when we talked, it became clear why. He told me, "I feel like I'm living in the bathroom, Doc. And even when I'm not in there, I'm worrying about when I'll have to go again." He'd stopped golfing with his friends, cut back on visits with his grandchildren, and admitted that intimacy with his wife had all but disappeared because he was too distracted by discomfort. Now, when we went over his daily routine, one habit jumped out right away. Harold drank very little water, maybe a glass or 2 a day. He thought he was doing himself a favor by avoiding fluids, because he assumed less water meant fewer trips to the bathroom. What he didn't realize was that dehydration was actually making things worse. You see, when your body doesn't get enough water, your urine becomes more concentrated. That concentrated urine irritates the bladder and the prostate, leading to more urgency, not less. It's a cruel trick, and Harold was caught in the middle of it. Once he began gradually increasing his water intake, something remarkable happened.
Within weeks, he wasn't rushing to the bathroom nearly as often, and the pressure he had been feeling began to ease. His wife later told me she felt like she had her husband back. That small, simple shift gave him back confidence and joy in his daily life. And this is why I say that knowledge is power. Sometimes the habits we think are helping us are actually hurting us. The good news is, once you know better, you can do better. And the improvements don't take years. They can begin in a matter of weeks. I want you to picture what life could feel like if your prostate wasn't constantly irritated. Imagine sleeping through the night without waking up 5 or 6 times. Imagine sitting through a family dinner without the nagging thought of needing to excuse yourself. Imagine taking a trip or enjoying an afternoon in the park without that constant anxiety. That's the gift of making better choices today. Now, let me pause here and gently ask you for something. If this message is landing with you, if you've ever tried cutting back on water to help yourself, only to realize it didn't make much of a difference, please give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel and tap the bell so you never miss my weekly advice. And most importantly, let me know in the comments. Just type yes if you've ever noticed water, or the lack of it, affecting you, or no if that hasn't been your experience. I personally read those comments, and they help me guide these conversations so they're as useful to you as possible. Another important point I want to touch on has to do with movement. Too many men underestimate just how damaging long periods of sitting can be, especially after 60. I mentioned earlier how sitting can restrict blood flow in the pelvic region, but let's take that a step further. When you sit for hours on end, day after day, you're not just compressing the prostate, you're also weakening the muscles that support it. Your pelvic floor, your abdominal muscles, even your circulation as a whole, they all suffer when you stop moving. I had a patient named George who retired at 65. He loved his recliner and his television, and after decades of hard work, he felt he had earned the right to take it easy. But by 70, he was dealing with constant prostate irritation, weak circulation, and even back problems. When I asked him about exercise, he chuckled and said, "Doc, my workout these days is finding the remote when it slips between the cushions." George didn't need a gym membership or a complicated routine. What he needed was movement woven back into his day. We started with something as simple as setting a timer to stand up and stretch every hour. He began walking around the block with his wife each evening. He even took up light gardening, something he had always enjoyed but had let slip away. Within a few months, his symptoms began to improve. The swelling and discomfort eased, his energy came back, and his mood lifted as well. This is what I want you to take away. Your prostate responds to circulation. When you move, you bring fresh blood flow to the pelvic area, which helps reduce congestion and inflammation. When you stay still, everything stagnates, and your prostate pays the price. And just like Harold with his water intake, or Charles with his coffee, George's story shows how everyday choices make all the difference. You don't need to overhaul your entire life or chase perfection. You simply need awareness and consistency. What I love most about sharing these stories is that they remind us aging doesn't mean surrendering. Too often, men over 60 throw up their hands and say, "This is just how it is now." But it doesn't have to be that way. I've seen too many men reclaim their vitality. Too many wives tell me their husbands have come back to life. Too many families say they feel whole again, for me to believe otherwise. And I want that for you too. Whether it's cutting back on irritating drinks, managing stress, staying hydrated, or simply moving more, the path to a calmer, healthier prostate is paved with simple, everyday steps.
As we bring this conversation together, I want you to think about the men whose stories I've shared with you. Henry, who discovered that sitting too long and sipping soda was adding fuel to his prostate irritation. Charles, who learned that his late-night coffee habit was robbing him of peaceful sleep. Robert, who found that stress and tension were quietly working against his prostate health. Harold, who realized that cutting back on water was making his symptoms worse, not better. And George, who saw that too much sitting was draining the life from his body. Each one of these men came to me believing their struggles were just an unavoidable part of getting older. But when they opened themselves to making small, consistent changes, their lives began to transform. They weren't cured overnight. They didn't take shortcuts or find magic pills. What they did was something much more powerful. They chose awareness. They took back control, one habit at a time. And that's what I want for you. Because the truth is, prostate issues after 60 are not inevitable. Yes, the body changes, but how those changes affect you is still within your influence. Every sip of water, every walk around the block, every moment of calm breathing, every healthier choice you make sends a positive message to your prostate and to your whole body. Those messages add up, and before long, you begin to feel a shift. I remember sitting with Henry months after our first visit. He leaned back in the chair with a smile and said, "Doc, I can watch a full movie now without running to the bathroom, and I even slept 8 hours straight last night." The pride in his voice was unmistakable. It wasn't just about his prostate, it was about his confidence, his freedom, and his joy in everyday living. That's what this journey is really about. I want you to imagine for yourself what life could look like if your prostate wasn't dictating your choices. Maybe it means fewer interruptions at night so you can sleep deeply. Maybe it means more energy during the day so you can enjoy the things you love. Maybe it means reconnecting with your spouse or spending quality time with your grandchildren without distraction. These are the rewards of paying attention to the little things. And I want to pause one last time to gently ask for your support. If this message has given you hope or opened your eyes to something you hadn't considered before, please click the like button, subscribe to the channel, and tap the bell icon so you won't miss the weekly advice I share here. And in the comments, I'd love to hear from you. Simply type yes if you feel encouraged to make a small change for your prostate health, or no if you're not sure yet. Your answers matter to me because they help me continue guiding you with the advice that makes the biggest difference. One of the things I've learned in over 30 years of working with men is that change doesn't have to be overwhelming. It begins with awareness, followed by a single step. For Henry, it was swapping soda for tea. For Charles, it was easing back on coffee. For Robert, it was learning to breathe through stress. For Harold, it was pouring one more glass of water. And for George, it was getting up from his chair and taking that first walk. None of those changes were dramatic, but they were powerful because they were consistent. So if you're listening right now and wondering where to start, I encourage you to choose just one thing. Maybe it's standing up and stretching each hour. Maybe it's swapping one cup of coffee for water. Maybe it's giving yourself 5 quiet minutes before bed to let the stress of the day go. One habit practiced with care can open the door to a healthier, more peaceful life. I know that prostate struggles can feel frustrating and sometimes even embarrassing, but I want you to know you are not alone. So many men have walked this road before you, and so many have found relief and renewal by making simple changes, and you can too. As I leave you today, let me circle back to the message I started with. Small habits, repeated daily, shape your health in powerful ways. They can either damage your prostate or they can protect it. The choice, even at 60, 70, or beyond, is still in your hands. My hope is that you'll choose the path that brings you comfort, strength, and the freedom to enjoy life fully. I'm Dr. Nolan Easton, and it's been an honor to share this time with you. Take care of yourself. Take small steps every day, and remember, you have more power over your health than you may think. Stay well, my friend.